Hi there, Mark Dewey with the Kalamazoo Handyman Services, and we're in the paint shop, and what we're going to do today is a little demonstration of product on the white pigmented shellac primer by Sherwin-Williams. So, pretty basically, we're just going to take the primer straight out of the can, of course filtered, everything is filtered. Load it in our cup, and then you see I have my spray gun tore apart, and I do this for a reason. I take this apart like this every time to clean it. You always do a little lube on the needle set. We're using a number 2 needle and a number 2 tip on that. It's a very thin body primer. Okay, put it in there. Now make sure you always freely lock it in place. Okay, we're going to snug that packing nut down a little bit and always give it a little lubrication. Make sure everything's free. Pull the trigger, we're going to install the tip, the cap, snug, not too tight. Then you have your pickup end. Get that put together. I take these apart all the time to clean them. It's just so easy. You just drop this thing all apart, clean it. It's always in great shape when you're ready to spray. Tighten that up. This goes one way to the cup. Make sure it works. I blow through it. Lock that in place. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to spray a little bit on this. So I always test my spray pattern and set up on that before I spray anything. So let me turn the heater on a minute. And I turn the heater on because I actually bring in cold air from the outside. It's 32 degrees out, but I don't want cold air coming in here, so it goes through a room. Then it's vented in through here with a fan, goes through a heater before it gets into here, and then I'm bringing warm air into my room. So we have, turn the ventilation on, we turn the external blower in to bring in the cold air into this room. You take air out, you got to bring it in. And then let me fire up the turbine. Test this. I love this sprayer because put it on straight, you know, your fans either this way or this way. I love this setting because I can dial right in while I'm doing edges. Shellac primer, but this one is a little tinted gray because our product is like a brown tone on it, so I want a gray primer on here. I'll show you how this sprays. Very thin coats you do on there. Never do anything thick. Alrighty, back. Okay, we got them all primed. So let's just dive right in here. Let's take a look at these. Okay, you're gonna have to get a little closer. There you go. That's a little better. Come on. So you can see they sprayed out pretty good. Pretty smooth for a primer. And we're going to show you how they sand. Now I use, this one is 220 grit fine sandpaper. These sanders are nice, but when it comes to sanding between coats, I'm not real crazy about them. This is 220, and it builds up, the heat, friction builds up on there, clumps up on there, and then it mars up there. Even with a 400 grit, it still does that because of the friction. It balls up, gets on your paper, and then it mars up. I thought, why bother? I just do it like it. Doesn't take that far and it's faster. So I wanted to show you how this primer stands up. They were primed yesterday. I let them set for a day. Probably didn't have to, but I do anyway. Make sure they're good and cured. Like I said, this has two coats. I did a white coat first and then a gray thin coat on top of that. So when I sand, I just start to come through a little bit and I can start seeing the white. I really don't want to go through that because I don't want to get back down to the original surface. I want that primer coat on here. That's why I do two light coats and then sand down. You can see the sand's really nice. It's very powdery. Fine, gets it nice and smooth. So the Shellac primer is a pretty good primer, and I used Shellac this time because it was a smoker's house, like I said.